Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. All right, buckle up, because this is a story about how a grumpy dude learned the hard way that you shouldn't mess with a family on a road trip. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Petty revenge on a grumpy old geezer at a Swedish campsite. A few weeks ago, my family and I were touring Europe in our car and caravan. We'd been driving for hours, and after a long day, we finally arrived at a massive campsite in the middle of Sweden. We were exhausted, but excited to set up camp and relax. The reception gave us our keys and a printout with the campsite rules, local attractions, and other info, basically a mini magazine. Our assigned spot was pitch 67. Little did we know our temporary neighbor at pitch 58 would turn out to be the grumpiest old geezer on the planet. We let the kids run off to find the playground while my wife and I started setting up the caravan. I backed it into the spot, detached the car, and began cranking down the support legs. It was hot, I was sweaty, and just as I was getting into the groove, this old guy comes storming over yelling, 4 meters, 4 meters. I was confused and admittedly a little irritated. I snapped back, "What are you going on about?" He huffed and puffed, finally explaining that the campsite rules state that caravans must be 4 meters apart, about 13 feet for my American friends, and I was apparently too close to his precious setup. Now, I'll admit I had parked our caravan about a meter, just over 3 feet from the back of our pitch, but here's the kicker. This guy's caravan was practically on top of the perimeter line, and his tent cords were on our pitch. I walked around to check the situation and left my wife to deal with him. Big mistake. When I came back 30 seconds later, my wife was visibly upset. Before I could ask what happened, she told me the old geezer had told her to go back to Finland after she had pointed out his tent cords were on our side. Oh, I was livid. For a split second, I considered getting physical, but then I remembered I'm a grown adult with kids watching, so I decided to get petty instead. I ended everything we'd set up, moved the caravan, and made absolutely sure I was within the rules. It took about 7 minutes, but it was worth it. Then I marched over to the old geezer and said, "All right, I've moved my caravan. Now, since you're so keen on following the rules, let's talk about your setup. Your caravan is clearly too close to the perimeter, and your tent cords are on my pitch. Move your stuff or I'm going straight to reception to file a complaint." I was so angry my hand was shaking as I pointed at his caravan. The guy looked like he'd swallowed a lemon, but he didn't have a leg to stand on. The fallout? Oh, it was glorious. We got to watch as he and his partner had to disassemble half their front tent, crank up their caravan support legs, reattach their car, move the caravan, and then set everything back up. It took them 25 to 30 minutes, and the whole time I was sipping a cold drink and enjoying the show. But wait, it gets better. I told the kids, "Hey, there's a special situation here. You don't have to be quiet like usual. Go ahead and play as loudly as you want." And they did. They shouted, laughed, and had the time of their lives, all within the campsite's allowed noise hours, of course. Luckily, the other pitches around us were empty, so the only ones bothered were the old geezer and his partner. Oh, and my wife, she's my hero. When the old guy told her to go back to Finland, she shot back with the classic, "F you." We left the next day as planned, but not without a sense of satisfaction. Moral of the story, if you're going to be a jerk, make sure you're not breaking the rules yourself. Otherwise, you might just get a taste of your own medicine. I found that people who are very strict with demanding others to follow the rules often do not follow the rules well themselves. Bunch of hypocrites. They scream foul the loudest. And our second story. I'm not in middle school. I'm 23. This happened 2.5 years ago when I was 23. I was still in college and had a part-time job through my university as a tutor in a middle school. I worked with kids during the school day. It wasn't an after-school program, so there were always teachers and staff patrolling the hallways to check for hall passes. Most of them recognized me and realized I was a tutor and not a student, though many had asked to see my hall pass before this incident. To be fair, I'm 5 feet tall and weigh 95 pounds. Many, if not most, of the 7th and 8th graders were bigger than me, and I can see how I might blend in if you failed to notice my tattoos and face that screams exhausted, hungover college student. One particular day, I arrived while the kids were changing classes. There were specific paths they were supposed to take so that each hallway only had kids going in one direction to avoid traffic jams, as the hallway posters called it. In order to assert myself as the grown woman I was, I walked the wrong way. Otherwise, it would have taken me about 5 extra minutes to get to where I needed to be. I swiftly moved my way through the crowd, low-key intimidated by the hormonal, acne-ridden, 6-foot-tall middle schoolers towering above me, wishing I wasn't wearing leggings and a t-shirt like all the other students. I was turning the corner and almost to the class when an elderly teacher grabs me by the shoulders and physically turns my body around to walk the other way. I'll call her DET, Deteriorating Elderly Teacher. DET, what do you think you're doing? You need to follow the arrows. How confusing is it for you? Me, oh, sorry, ma'am, you don't understand. DET, do not talk back to me. I don't want to hear it. She turns my body the other way yet again. Goodbye. She was scary enough that I strongly considered walking the way she wanted me to go when I suddenly remembered I was 23 and couldn't get in trouble at a middle school. I turned back around. Me, I'm just trying to... DET, you have one last chance before I take you to the principal for this disrespect. Me, DET, that's it. She proceeds to grasp my arm with her frail elderly hands and lead me to the principal's office. At this point, students were taking notice, and for the first time in 10 years, I felt like an embarrassed 13-year-old. I saw one of my students, a 7th grade girl, laughing uncontrollably, and she said, "Don't worry, miss, my name. I'll tell everyone you've got taken to the principal." I thought DET might have heard this, but she was very elderly, so she didn't. I shake her hand off my shoulder and turn to face her, trying to look as grown-up as possible, even sliding my sleeve up so she may see my tattoos. Me, lady, with all due respect, I'm a tutor here. I'm not in middle school. I'm 23. Please, I'm going to be late for my work, and you're wasting both of our time by taking me to the principal. It finally sinks into DET that I am not, in fact, a student here. I see her eyes glancing down at my tattoo, then slowly rising back to my face. DET, oh my, why didn't you say something? I'm so sorry. It's chaotic in here, and you look very young. Please forgive me. Me, it's fine, but you really didn't give me a chance to speak up. I hope you give the kids a chance to speak up before grasping them and taking them to the office, you decrepit old bee. I bet all the students despise you, rightfully so. Okay, fine, I didn't say that last part, but I deeply regret not doing so to this day. After this occasion, I tried a little harder to look my age while tutoring, and my 7th grade student never let me or anyone else forget this happened. I definitely would have gone with her to the principal, making her drag me just to have the principal call the cops and have her arrested. And our last story. My disabled mom is a legend and taught a parking thief a lesson they'll never forget. Okay, so I need to tell you about my mom. She's the sweetest, most caring person you'll ever meet until you cross her. She's got this perfect balance of kindness and absolute petty chaos that I aspire to. Oh, and she's severely disabled, which is relevant to this story. At her old apartment, she had a designated handicap parking spot because, she needs it. It's the second spot in the lot with 2 others on either side. She paid for it monthly, and it was hers. The building also had guest handicap spots 4 and 5, so there was no excuse for anyone to take hers. Enter the parking thief. This person, let's call them Karen because, of course, was a frequent visitor to the building. Karen had no disabled parking placard, no reason to park in my mom's spot, and yet she kept doing it. Even when the guest spots were wide open, Karen would park in my mom's spot like she owned it. At first, my mom was polite. She left notes on Karen's windshield. "Hi, this is a paid handicap spot. Please use the guest spots. Thank you." But Karen didn't care. It kept happening. My mom would come home and find her spot taken for hours, 10 hours once. 10 hours. So my mom decided it was time to teach Karen a lesson. One day, Karen parked in my mom's spot again. My mom pulled up, saw the car, and just parked her own car directly behind Karen's, blocking her in. Then she went up to her balcony, which overlooked the parking lot, grabbed a book, and waited. Cue the drama. Karen came out an hour later, saw her car blocked, and immediately started fuming. She looked around, spotted my mom on the balcony, and shouted, "Hey, is this your car? Move it right now." My mom, calmly sipping her tea, replied, "Oh, hi, you're in my paid parking spot. The guest spots are right over there." Karen, "I don't care. Move your car or I'll call the police." My mom, "Go ahead. I'd love to explain to them how you've been illegally parking in a handicapped spot without a placard." Karen tried to wait it out, pacing around her car, but my mom just kept reading her book. Karen even tried to squeeze her car out using the empty spot next to her, but my mom had parked just close enough to make it impossible. Then Karen did the unthinkable. She got in her car, revved the engine, and tried to ram her way out, hitting my mom's car in the process. Big mistake. My mom immediately called the police. By the time they arrived, half the building was outside watching the chaos unfold. Karen was screaming about how my mom was harassing her, but the cops weren't having it. They took statements from witnesses, saw the damage to my mom's car and Karen's lack of disabled placard. Cop, "Ma'am, you're not allowed to park here. This is a paid handicap spot, and you've caused property damage." Karen, "But she blocked me in. This is her fault." Cop, "You shouldn't have been parked here in the first place." Karen ended up with a hefty fine, had to pay for the repairs to my mom's car, and was banned from visiting the building. My mom wasn't even mad about the damage. She'd been planning to get a new car anyway. But wait, it gets better. A few weeks later, Karen tried it again. This time, my mom didn't even bother blocking her in. She just called a tow truck. Karen came out to find her car gone and absolutely lost it. She started screaming at my mom, who was once again on the balcony watching the show. Karen, "You're a horrible person. I'm going to get you evicted. Your disability won't save you." My mom smirking, "Good luck with that, Karen." The building manager backed my mom up, and Karen was told if she showed up again, they'd call the police. I'd really like to hear from the person who kept taking her spot. Why? Why do you continue to park there when you know you're not supposed to? Why are you like that? Looks like a complete and total disregard and disrespect for others. Main character syndrome and general a-holery and jerkishness. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.